You posted the other day. Now you've achieved the black belt. So in 7 months, blue belt, 19 to purple, 23 to brown, 3 years, 340 days to black belt.
Mm-hmm.
Now I may not be I don't have a large knowledge base of jiu-jitsu, but even for someone that doesn't, that sounds like a very quick time frame compared to what people would have kind of told you was possible early days. How did you manage to make that happen in that time frame?
Steroids.
And autism.
And autism. Speed running. Speed running Halo on legendary mode. So the original story that was attached to that post is that my first coach, Severino, he big Cook Island guy, super happy, super friendly. Looks like he'd be knocking on your door to help you move house. Just a real lovely guy. And we'd happened upon another famous Australian guy who got his black belt in 4 years, Mr. Kit Dale. And my best mate and I, Zach, had figured out who that guy was. And we're like, fuck, black belt in 4 years sounds pretty impressive. And I asked my coach about it. I said, how long did it take you to get yours? He goes, about 9. And I was like, so this 4 business, that's pretty impressive. But he goes, yeah. And I was like, do you reckon I could do it? He's like, he always calls me Mr. Saunders. Always Mr. Saunders. He goes, Mr. Saunders, if you believe it, you can do it. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I'm not really, again, concurrent with the conversation prior. I don't really take other people's opinions all that seriously, but a good nod from an individual like that who was much higher in rank than I was at the time, sure doesn't hurt. Absolutely. No. Had he shit on my dreams at that moment, I don't necessarily know that he would have changed the effect too much, but it could have potentially been a hindrance. And obviously, ifs and nuts, candy and butts, we're not going to fucking know. But it's very interesting to think about it like that. But yeah, so he pretty much went, yeah, if you think you can do it, why the fuck not? And he was instrumental within the first period of white to blue belt. And he actually started sending us to interstate competitions to start to compete. And because there wasn't that much competition at blue belt in Sydney, there was a couple of people that wasn't crazy. And so we went to big national competitions down in Melbourne, and we went to big state titles in Brisbane, and ended up meeting a bunch of guys and doing really well through that. And then that kind of started the hype train, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I don't pay attention to any of it, so I wouldn't even know. And slowly but surely ended up getting my way into Sydney West Martial Arts, where I train currently in Penrith. And during one of the lockdown sessions that we definitely weren't training through the entire time.
No, doesn't sound like it.
We were all very safe and stayed 6 feet apart.
Easy to do in jiu-jitsu.
Very easy. Actually, much better. Don't get submitted nearly as much. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Shadow wrestling and flow solo drilling. Fucking idiots. And ended up getting a role in with the promoter of the big super fight card show in Australia. It's called Subversion, and I've been on that I'm about to be the main event for the 3rd time. It'll be my 5th appearance in 2 weeks.
Yep.
So it'll be really cool.
In Sydney, is it?
In Sydney, at the Roundhouse, not too far away from here. And ended up getting a role in with him, and I just took his back and submitted him like 3 or 4 times, and he's a black belt. And he's like 105 kilos or something, so he's not small.
Yeah, not a tiny boy.
And my coach was just watching, like, just for fun, because he knew what I was capable of. He knew what George was capable of. And I just ended up mopping the floor with him. He goes, what the fuck is going on with that? And he goes, why have I never heard of this guy? And the same conversation was when I first went to Sydney West. And Luke was like, why have I never heard of you? I was like, probably because I've been doing the sport for like 6 months. And he's like, what? He's like, you ever done wrestling or judo or fucking karate? And I was like, nah. He's like, what were you doing before this? I was like, lifting weights. He's like, what were you doing before that? I was like, playing rugby. He's like, that makes a little bit more sense. That makes a little bit more sense. And I was like, yeah, I was like this close to making the NRL. I know everybody says that, but I genuinely was this close to making the NRL. Played 20s for 2 seasons and had a pretty good career in New South Wales Cup as well, although short, was quite good. And he was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense. And he said to me, another confirmation of belief, which was really cool. He said, if you train here for 12 months, you will win trials in your weight class. And I was like, what's trials? He goes, it's that ADCC thing you're wearing on your shorts, because I was wearing Gordon Ryan shorts at the time. And I was like, oh, interesting. I've watched that.
Yeah.
I'd like to go there. That'd be cool. And the whole theme throughout the entirety of it wasn't that I'd like set this unruly expectation that I must complete this task before set date or before set time. Kind of all happened naturally and organically and very very free flowing. And I think what people make the mistake in doing is they set these ridiculous, stringent, and very brittle parameters for their success, and they end up mentally asphyxiating themselves before they get any momentum. So they say to themselves, in your position, 5 sessions in, they say, well, by 15 sessions in, I'll submit my first blue belt. You're like, good luck, buddy. If that blue belt's worth his chop, you're not fucking submitting him 15 sessions in.
And if you do, he's not trying.
And if you do, he sucks, or he's not trying, to your point. And so then you play the game with that, where you're like, was he trying? Was he not trying? Does he suck? Does he not suck? It's just endless Chinese finger trapping, where the harder you think, the more you get stuck. And it just doesn't make any sense. So I think the lesson that I've been able to derive from that is have a lot of grit and determination and focus on just doing your absolute best while it's right there in front of you, and then let everything else be what it will be. And then you'd be surprised at how quickly you can go through ranks or how much success you can have in competition. Because if you told me, if you went back in the past 5 years and said that I would be where I am currently with the stats and the whatever else, I'd be like, you're fucking taking the piss, cunt. Because still, I've only been training this month. In a couple of weeks, I'll have ticked over 4 years. And so if you went back 5 years ago, hadn't started the sport, hadn't really heard much about it aside from Joe Rogan podcasts, and I was 1 year into retirement from footy, just lifting weights, being a PT. And so for me to not have ever heard of the sport, really, not have ever had an inclination to try it, think about this as well in terms of rigidity. Had I said to my mate, Zach, I don't want to come do karate in the garage, I'm going to focus on lifting weights, I never would have had this fucking amazing run, this amazing experience, travel all around the world and fought the best in the world.
Head over to Jordan Checker Podcast to get the full exclusive experience.